Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
You've maxed out your 401k. You're contributing to an IRA and making some other investments. You're ahead of the game and doing well. But where do you go from here? The same old story can only get you so far. If you want a new take from a new type of financial professional, we invite you to get a fresh perspective beside an agent with the backing of New York Life. Insurance, investments, retirement, and more. Visit NYL.com to learn more. Investments are offered through registered representatives of NYLife Securities, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC, a New York Life company.
It's winter, and you can now get almost anything you need for the coldest months of the year delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a ski slope delivered, but you can get dish soap delivered. Sunshine, that's a no. But a bottle of wine, that's a yes. A snow angel, sorry, no. But angel hair pasta, Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol and select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
This is the FPL Draft Zone, your fantasy team's best signing of the season.
The FA Cup weekend is over, and attention now turns to the Premier League and Gameweek 28. We have a look at all the top flight fixtures that will define your FPL draft fate, and we've got those all-important waivers as well. Hello and welcome to the FPL Draft Zone, a podcast all about draft FPL. I am Dom Crofts, and of course, I hope you are well. And we are gearing up for another game week as the Premier League returns on Saturday after a little weekend off. Before we get started, just a reminder to subscribe to the pod if you haven't already. It is the best way to ensure you don't miss an episode, and we say it every week as well, but I'm gonna say it again. Please, pretty please, with a cherry on top, take 20 seconds out of your day to leave us a nice 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or some kind words on Spotify or whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. Feel free as well to follow us on X and on Instagram. It's always good to hear from you all on there too. Our handle on both is at FPL Draft Zone, and we're also on Blue Sky as well, where our handle is at FPL Draft Zone.bsky.social. So jump on board whatever social media platform you want and say hello. But enough housekeeping and enough tedious admin. It is time to take a look at Game Week 28 in all its glory. It is time for Waiver Wants.
The FPL Draft Zone, Waiver Wants.
And as usual, we're going to take a look at the game week in fixture order and make a few waiver suggestions that we hope will improve your team. A reminder that we are focusing on diamonds in the rough and players likely to be available in the majority of draft leagues rather than your Mo Salahs and your Erling Haalands. And a reminder as well that in a week's time there is a reduced fixture list in the Premier League. Game week 29 will only feature 8 fixtures and 16 teams, with no Liverpool, no Newcastle, no Aston Villa and no Crystal Palace in action. So that should be in the back of your mind coming into this game week, although there are teams that aren't playing in Game Week 29 who are still worth rolling the dice on this week, which we will get to in a bit. So, let's start with that lunchtime kickoff between Nottingham Forest and Manchester City. And after Forest's draw with Arsenal, they will be looking to get another result against one of the traditional top 4 teams. They've kept 2 clean sheets in a row at the City ground now, but City themselves won on their last trip away from the Etihad when they beat Spurs 1-0 in North London. They also won the reverse fixture 3-0 earlier this season, and they've won the last 3 in a row against Nottingham Forest without conceding a goal. And I actually think the way that Pep's side play may cause Forest some problems again here. So I'd be looking at any of City's attacking assets in this one. Obviously, the likes of Haaland and Marmoush will be taken in your league. but someone like Savinho may be free. He impressed against Spurs last time out. He may be available given City's form across the course of the season so far. He ended up with an XGI of 0.67 against Spurs, and that is the third game in his last 4 where he's got an XGI of over 0.5. So he is getting chances to return in this City side, even if he isn't currently doing so consistently. If you're leaning towards Forest in this one, Callum Hudson-Odoi has started the last 2 after recovering from injury. He could cause City some problems, particularly if he lines up on the left-hand side of their attack, where he would likely be up against Matheus Nunes. In the 3 o'clock kickoffs, it's Brighton against Fulham at the Amex. Brighton have won the last 5 now in all competitions after losing 7-0 to Nottingham Forest in game week 24. But Fulham were unbeaten in their last 9 against the Seagulls, winning the last 2. Alex Iwobi bagged a brace at Craven Cottage earlier in the season in a 3-1 win. So if you own him, you'll be hoping for more of the same this week. Meanwhile, Rodrigo Muniz is still very much a second choice striker at Fulham these days, but his form has been excellent of late. He has 2 goals in his last 4 matches, despite only starting 1 of the last 10 league games. He also started in that FA Cup win over Manchester United at the weekend, and he got an assist for his troubles as well, setting up Calvin Bass's opener. So if you do need that elusive third striker, he could be a good option this weekend given his form. As for Brighton, the likes of Welbeck and Pedro and Minte and Mitoma will all be great pickups if they're available, but let's face it, they're probably already taken. If they are, though, and you do want an option from the Seasiders, Jorginho Rutter has 2 returns in his last 2. Beyond that, though, the options for Brighton are likely to be sparse. It's Crystal Palace against Ipswich at Selhurst Park, and this is one of those games that you have to look at and you have to really throw absolutely everything you've got at it from a draft perspective, because Ipswich are really bad and Palace are in a very good moment right now. They've won 3 of their last 4. They've just ended their poor home form as well by beating Aston Villa 4-1, and even though they do not play in game week 29, if you have some Palace options that you can bring in this week, get it done, because this is a gimme of a game. I'm sure a lot of you brought in Chelsea and West Ham assets last week ahead of their games with Southampton and Leicester, and that paid off massively, and Ipswich now fall into that same category as Southampton and Leicester. We thought they might be the pick of the promoted sides, but really they're all much of a muchness, and they are all teams we need to be targeting between now and the end of the season. I should also flag, by the way, that Palace have got Southampton in game week 30 as well. So if you can get in some of their players and hold them through that blank game week 29, you're in very good shape going forwards as well. Any Palace defenders would be strong signings this week, but Chris Richards is probably the most available option of the lot. Eddie Nketiah would be a very astute bit of business if you can get him in following that horrible injury to Mateta against Millwall in the FA Cup. And if anyone has dropped Ismaila Sarr, who had gone 5 games without a return prior to that performance against Aston Villa, he would also be a fantastic bit of business if you can get him in. It's Liverpool against Southampton at Anfield, and this could be a cricket score, to be honest. If you're up against Salah in a head-to-head matchup this week, just accept the loss now and get on with it. But it goes without saying that for this match, any route into the Liverpool team is a good route. And again, they do blank in game week 29. But as far as we're concerned, who cares? It's Southampton at home. We said we fancied McAllister to return against Newcastle, and he did. So if he's not been picked up yet, he'd be a decent roll of the dice. Curtis Jones is one of those players who's on and off the waivers, but given Liverpool's run of fixtures in the Champions League and the Carabao Cup, this is surely a game where Arne Slot will look to rotate, particularly given how comfortable they are now at the top of the table. It's PSG, Southampton, PSG, and Newcastle United at Wembley in Liverpool's next 4. So if they're going to use their squad, they're surely going to use it in this one. That also means that someone like Tsimikas might be worth a gamble with that in mind as well. But basically, if there is a Liverpool player available on your waivers and you think there is a more than 50% chance that they will get minutes against Southampton, I would take that risk, given their opponents and given the potential rewards you might be able to get out of them. It's Southampton, guys. Southampton. It's Brentford against Aston Villa at the G-Tech. Villa are unbeaten in their last 5 against the Bees, and Ollie Watkins has 4 in his last 3 against his old side and 5 in his last 5. If you think Brentford might end that poor run of form, then Kevin Schade remains an option for Thomas Frank's side. He has started the last 5 now. He scored twice in that period. He didn't return against Leicester in game week 26, so some owners may have given up and discarded him, but that does not necessarily make him a bad pickup at all. As for Villa, who do give their opponents chances, their attacking roulette continues to be a problem for draft managers. Asensio, Rashford and Bailey started the FA Cup win over Cardiff City, but last time out in the league, it was Ramsey and Rodgers who got the nod. I think if you're going to gamble on a Villa attacker, Rashford or Asensio remain the best picks. Asensio has 4 in his first 6 for the club, and since his Villa debut, Marcus Rashford has created more chances in all competitions than any other Premier League player. So I can't see either of them being out of that first team for long. I do think they will be regular starters sooner rather than later, but beyond that, the likes of Ramsey and Bailey, they remain big gambles who may or may not see minutes here, and Brentford are not the sort of side that you would be targeting like a Southampton or a Leicester. I can't see either team keeping a clean sheet in this one, so defences are probably a bit of a non-starter too. It's Wolves against Everton at Molineux, and following his red card against Bournemouth in the FA Cup, Cunha will be available for this one as well as the next 2 games away at Southampton and at home to West Ham. Last time the Brazilian was unavailable, it was Guedes and Hwang who lined up behind Jorgen Strand Larsen, but Guedes is currently injured and Hwang now seems completely out of favour. So Munetsi, who we recommended last week, is now looking even more tempting as a draft asset, as is Bellegarde, who is probably going to benefit more than anyone else from Cunha's absence. He has been very lively in recent weeks for Wolves, and in the last 3 games alone, his expected goal involvements have been 0.4, 0.45 and 0.49 against Liverpool, Bournemouth and Fulham, and they are not too shabby in terms of opponents. Both are midfielders, so you're not getting an additional striker option, unfortunately, but even so, if you could get one of those 2 into your team this week, you would have a very nice asset, not just for this week, but for the next few weeks as well. As for Everton, if you think that the lack of Cunha is going to stifle Wolves' attacking threat, Jake O'Brien is likely to be the most available defender on the waivers from the Toffees, and Decore is always likely to pop up in a game like this, particularly as he's currently on that little run that he loves to do, where he scores in batches. On Sunday, the action gets underway at 2 o'clock with the game between Chelsea and Leicester, and if you didn't take advantage of that Chelsea game against Southampton last time out and really added Chelsea talent to your squad, then you need to do so this week. Chalobah's injury should see Tosin Adarabioyo keep his place in the side. Gusto has started the last 3 as well. Sancho's slightly ropey form might mean he's still free on your waivers. If he is, he's well worth a roll of the dice this week, considering the opponents. Jorgensen has now started the last 4 in goal, so he seems to be first choice for Chelsea now. And remember that this week they are up against a side that have scored just once in their last 7 games. So this is as good a chance as you're ever going to have of getting a clean sheet. Tyreek George would be a gamble if you have no other route into that Chelsea attack, but he did come off the bench against Southampton and he did get an assist, and I would expect him to get more minutes in this one, particularly if the home side find themselves in control with 20 minutes to go, and I think, let's face it, they probably will be in control with 20 minutes to go. Spurs take on Bournemouth in North London, and Spurs are going into this one having won 3 of their last 4 games. They were beaten last time out by Manchester City, but in their last couple of games, Bournemouth, their opponents, have given up more than 2 XG in those matches. So the home side should get chances in this one. Jed Spence is Spurs' form player right now, and even though he was dropped for that City game, I would expect him to be back for this one. Although if you disagree, Udogie may be free on the waivers given Spurs' ropey defence and his long-term injury problems heading into this one. Odegaard started against City as well. He got 66 minutes, so if you want a route into their front line, he would be a potential option, although there is of course no guarantee he will get a second start in a row. He should get minutes. You would expect Tell, Son and Johnson to start ahead of him. Bournemouth won the reverse fixture 1-0 earlier in the season, but Spurs had won the previous 3 before that, and the Cherries have only kept 1 clean sheet away from home all season, so I do think Spurs will score here, but I also think it's almost certain that both teams will score. Evan Nielsen's return from injury saw Dango Utara benched against Wolves in the FA Cup, so as we predicted, his minutes are already becoming a bit of a risk. He is probably still worth a punt for a game like this if one of your rival managers has dumped him already. Tavernier is back in Iraiola's starting 11 as well, so he'd be a decent shout. And Brooks is one of those players you could gamble on, but whose returns over the course of the season are so minimal, you've just got to hope that you get him on a good day, ideally against Southampton. At Old Trafford, it's Manchester United against Arsenal. United can't defend and Arsenal can't score, so who knows what's going to happen in this one. United have one clean sheet in their last 14 games in the league. Meanwhile, Arsenal have a player playing up front who resembles little more than a lamppost and have not scored in their last 2 matches. If you do want a bit of Arsenal action, Calafiori looked a real threat against Forest last time out. He hit the post, he occupied good attacking areas, and he could easily have scored before coming off at half-time, having been booked early on. I've also got a funny feeling Arteta may try him at centre-forward at some point, unless Mikel Merino suddenly finds some form soon. Ben White continues to edge closer to a first-team start following his long-term injury layoff, and Kieran Tierney is getting more and more minutes as well, as the Gunners do search for a solution to their offensive issues. He's even come on as a winger, so that's something to consider. Managers who went for Raheem Sterling a few weeks ago can bin him off now. He is not getting starts, and when he does come on, he's not getting many minutes either. Martinelli is worth thinking about now, with a view to him getting back to full fitness over the next few weeks. After this game, Arsenal only have one other match this March in the Premier League, so you could do worse than get him in now with a view to some long-term planning.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024. Ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Can you feel it in the air? That sudden shift of mood? It's the perfect time to shed the winter blues and experience the revitalizing qualities of driving a Lincoln. It starts with the Lincoln Spring Sales Event. So step outside and visit your local Lincoln retailer or Lincoln.com for some seriously mood-enhancing offers on current and past Lincoln models. Your transformation awaits. Learn more at Lincoln.com.
As for United, if they're ever going to keep a clean sheet, it's probably in this game. So I'd be very tempted to bring in one of their defenders this week. Maguire and De Ligt are probably more available than the likes of Mazraoui and Dalot. Dorgu is suspended. Maguire did limp off injured in that FA Cup defeat to Fulham, so keep an eye out for news on him. And we'll also bang the drum for Chido Obi Martin as well. He got more minutes against Fulham, and he would be a reasonable third striker option. And then wrapping up the game week on Monday night, it is West Ham at home to Newcastle United. West Ham have won their last 2 games without conceding a goal. Newcastle have lost 4 of their last 5 in all competitions, and now they are without Anthony Gordon through suspension and quite possibly Alexander Isak through injury as well. So, with all that in West Ham's favour, plus the distraction of the Carabao Cup final for Eddie Howe's side, I can see West Ham making it 3 wins on the spin in this one. Thomas Souček scored last time out against Leicester. He has 2 in his last 3 games against the Toon as well, so I'd be looking at him as a very decent pickup this week. West Ham also play in game week 29, whereas Newcastle don't, so that's another reason not to invest in them. But if you do want a Newcastle option, given the suspension of Gordon and the potential injury to Isak, Harvey Barnes and Callum Wilson are suddenly looking like starters for the Geordies, and Trippier is also looking likely to get minutes as well, with Lewis Hall also struggling with injury. And that is it. Those are your waiver picks for this week, and hopefully you'll be able to get 1 or 2 of them into your squad ahead of Game Week 28 and give yourself a chance of making it a successful week in FPL Draft. Now, before we go, it is time to have a little look at the FPL Draft Zone Draft Leagues, which feature 38 teams across 3 divisions. A reminder that the bottom 4 in the Draft Zone Premier League and the Championship are relegated, and the top 4 in the Championship and in League One are promoted. So let's start in League One, where the race for promotion looks like it's between 6 teams. Tyler Keller's Pickleball FC and Thomas Helliso's Earth Winder Maguire are tied for first with 55 points apiece. Sai Kiran Padishati's Stone Cool 11 are 2 points further back from them. He's in third. And then there is a cluster of 3 teams battling out for 2 promotion spots, with James Doyle's Xerxian Ham and Joe Ryan's Onana's In Pyjamas level on 45 points, with Simon Sang's Hakuna Matata 2 points further back. In the Championship, absolutely everything is up for grabs. Louis Tam's Cunhall Sack United are 2 points clear of Tom Kay's Holt Fiction at the top of the table, and then 6 points separate 7 teams, and any of those teams could fill the 2 final promotion spots or 2 of the 4 relegation spots. At the moment, Mount United sit in third, 2 points clear of Adam C's Hot Take Master, with Isaac Kaner's Easy As, Liam Smith's Shoulders, Knees and Tony, Vencer Ramos, Corey Judd's The Skirtle Squad, and Gabriel Blythehouse's Hawk Chuameni still pushing for promotion. Corey and Gabriel currently occupy the final 2 relegation spots though, with Upper Shak Prajapati's Gakpo Hive and Jan Sandstead Nace's SL Bierson currently cut adrift down at the bottom. And then in the race to win the inaugural FPL Draft Zone Premier League title, Odin Erkadal Glatvets, a Chile draft, have a 5-point lead at the top over George Stathopoulos' Let's Roll and Jordan Strong's Answering Machine. Aaron Hancock's Lupa Linda is a point further back in 4th, while at the bottom, Pancho Palomo's Panchester Rovers are 15 points from safety. Richard Ellinger's Pulling Up Trees look doomed as well, and then it looks like 2 from 3 for the other 2 relegation spots, with Paul Dunn's My Name Is My Name currently 2 points outside the drop zone, with Colm Kiley's Corriba Stars and Mike Whitefield's Warriors currently relegated if the season were to end now. But of course it doesn't end right now, does it? There are still 11 game weeks left between now and the end of the season, so anything can happen. And maybe game week 28 is the week where your season, yes, yours, takes an upward turn. A reminder that the deadline for this week's waivers is on Friday the 7th of March at 11 a.m. GMT. The deadline for free agency is 24 hours later at 11 a.m. on Saturday the 8th of March GMT. And the game week itself starts 90 minutes after that, with that 12:30 p.m. a GMT game between Nottingham Forest and Manchester City. And that is it for this week. We will be back next week with a look back at the game week that was and a look ahead at the game week to come. And in the meantime, please, pretty please, spare 20 seconds of your time to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or a nice review on Spotify or whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. You know the score by now. Just get it done, my friends. Tell everyone you know about us. Spread the word of the FPL Draft Zone, because the more people who listen to us, the more podcasts we can make for you now and in the future. And in the meantime, good luck ahead of Game Week 28. Good luck in those waivers. Good luck in free agency. And bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.